Hello everyone, Lytro Storm here, and today I am here to talk to you all about The Walking Dead. Mainly the final episode of the series, but I'm also going to talk about how this show has impacted me overall and what this finale means to me. I'm recording this immediately after watching the finale, and I'm also really sick, and everybody around me is asleep, so apologies if I don't sound the same as usual, but I really needed to get this video out and just let out all my feelings. So, spoiler warning for the entire series, here we go. We're going to start this off with a little recap of basically my experience with the Walking Dead series. I first saw an episode of The Walking Dead when I was very young. I wanted to see what my parents were watching on TV, and I sat down and watched with them. I don't remember what episode, I just know it was one from the second season, and from that point, I would jump for any chance I could to watch it with them. I didn't catch every episode, obviously, but the ones I did stuck with me. I saw the main iconic scenes from the early seasons, but that was about it. My family stopped watching as much around season 5, so my interactions with it were through spoilers I'd come across online. I clamored for more content. I played all the games, Telltale, even Survival Instinct. I tried to play that one pinball game with all the Telltale characters. I don't know why, but I was super young, but that was basically it. Until sometime in 2020, when I decided to finally come back and watch the show, praying it was as good as I remembered. And it was. God, it was. And from that point on, I was the defender of The Walking Dead with my sword and shield, begging everyone I knew to watch it in hopes that they wouldn't brush it off or drop the show like everyone else had. My family even started watching it again a few years before I picked it up. So that was great. We even kind of watched it back to back, basically. And even through criticisms, some valid, some terrible, and some totally true, why would you kill Tyrese in such a horribly contrived way? Oh my God. But I stuck with the show no matter what. And when Rick left, I prayed it improved from the mess season 8 left us. And it did. Seasons 9 and 10 were some of the best in the series, and I will stand by that even though I know tons of people disagree. And now with my actual childhood coming to an end, so too does the show, which made some of my childhood. When they announced that season 11 would be the final season of the main show, with other plans for spin-offs, I was hyped. I wanted the season to be everything. I turned on my TV, and the first third was terrible. Not necessarily because of bad writing, but because it bored me to death. They introduced the Reapers last season thinking they had more seasons left, and when plans changed, they had to cramp all of it down into one little tiny third of a season. This left holes in the second third of the season, which was better and still had Leah, so I guess they didn't completely get it all out of the way, but still lacking that feeling other seasons left me with. So when the last 8 episodes were about to air, I was worried. 8 episodes to end this amazing journey and redeem this entire season, which is longer than any other season. And the first 5 were pretty mid. Good moments in some of them, but just not enough. This season did not feel like it was the end. It wasn't grand, it wasn't playing with my emotions or any of that stuff. I was even more worried than before. They had 3 episodes left to set up the ending and knock it down, while still leaving things open for the other shows. I was desperate for things to change. And then, episode 22 was pretty good. Episode 23 then made me feel a little again and left the final episode on a 50-50 chance. Can they actually do it? Well, I watched the series finale tonight, and it was stellar. Episode 24 was everything I wanted it to be and more. We start with Jules and Luke dying. They just die in heartbreaking ways. 2 characters who could have been killed by Lance in the second third, which I was honestly begging for, as we'd have very few character deaths at all the past 2 seasons, but they survived until now, and managed to die in such perfect ways that make me think, how? They made a terrible decision keeping them alive when we needed more death, and then they just killed them anyway? And I love it? Yeah, they executed this perfectly, and I mean that in the literal sense and in reference to them executing them. Luke's death with his whole group there crying is gut-wrenching, and it sets the tone so perfectly, and Jules dies literally as the first scene of the episode, and they managed to sell it so well, even though she's a nothing character. She's had 5 lines total, and she's just been off screen. If she would have died off screen to Lance, nobody would have cared. They would have cared about Luke. But they bring her in and they just kill her, and it sets the tone so perfectly, and every actor sells it because of how great the scene is. From that point, I realized that this could be it. I kept watching, and an old feeling returned as Rosita fell into a pit of walkers. For the first time in 2 seasons, I didn't want a character to die. After a year of begging the show, please just kill a kind of important character at least, and not some guy who had 3 lines, I finally found myself not wanting it to happen. I would have yelled during that scene if it weren't for my entire family sleeping next to me. And finally, feeling that again was amazing. That's how I felt with all the older seasons. When I saw Beth, or when I saw Dale's death scene, when I saw Glenn and Abraham, obviously, it's just so gut-wrenching. And you want to like yell at your TV. You want to be like, no, please, you savor every moment. Your heart starts racing. You hope that somehow you'll get a different ending, even though you know that it's not going to happen. And this is that. And when Rosita got up and just went ham on all the walkers, I was so hyped, just like I was before when other characters would save themselves. Which is in complete contrast to when Maggie was fighting Leah. I honestly knew Maggie wasn't going to die because of Isle of the Dead, which is now Dead City. But I wanted Leah to kill Maggie because, geez, we just need someone to die. And I know Leah's just going to get killed and nothing's ever going to change. She's going to show up, kill some random background character, and then just die. And yeah, that's what happened. Even though at that point, I was so jaded from all these seasons not killing anybody, I genuinely wanted Maggie to die. But now, I was hyped that Rosita was saving herself. A magic. It was just like before. A magic returned to the show for just one last episode. Rosita reveals her bite later on, and the emotions during that scene were high. Her and Eugene's bond had been developed in such a masterful way across these 7 seasons, and it really pays off here. Her death was impactful. The walkers felt like such a threat in the first 20 minutes, and I was on the edge of my seat as Daryl and the others fought to save Judith. They referenced so many things in this episode, like Rick giving blood to Carl, a walker banging on the glass with rocks. I feel like Rosita being trapped in an alley with walkers was both referencing Glenn's fake death and Kenny in the Telltale game, and that elevated it even more for me. It's just great to see all these callbacks, man. After Maggie returned to continue her rivalry with Negan in season 10, it felt like too much time had passed, and Negan had developed too much for any of it to really be impactful. And that was very true. It was mostly really boring, cliche stuff, with some really good moments here and there. But I wasn't interested in their dynamic basically at all. It was just Negan being like, Maggie, I'm not that guy anymore, and Maggie saying, no, I hate you, you killed Glenn, blah blah blah. And then sometimes Negan would try to get revenge on Maggie for hating him, and sometimes Maggie would try to get revenge on Negan, but it was just really boring. But this last episode elevated it and made Negan and Maggie's dynamic feel like how it should have felt all along. Every scene this two shared was great. Their dialogue with one another finally doesn't feel stiff and unwarranted, it feels real. Pamela almost dying by Walker Lance's hands was solid, and I think Maggie saving her really ends her arc in an amazing way. And of course, Negan commenting on the fact that Pamela would be imprisoned instead of killed is perfect because, I mean, yeah, that's what happened to him. It's the way our group does things now. Judith finally telling Daryl and Carol why Michonne left was good. I had doubts on why she didn't speak up about it sooner like everyone else did, but explaining it by saying she didn't want them to leave too makes so much sense, especially after knowing Daryl spent 6 years in almost complete solitude searching for Rick. And I mean, look at what happens at the end of the episode. Daryl literally does leave, so yeah. I haven't liked Mercer or Princess that much, I'll be honest, so far, but they've been growing on me slightly recently with these last couple episodes, and the finale made me enjoy them a good bit. I'm not going to pretend like they're my favorites now, but yeah, I like them. Gabriel is a total goat, saying a crazy line during a good scene and feeling like an absolute king as he saves the Commonwealth people, and seeing them all rise up with rock music playing and a giant explosion that definitely took up most of the episode's budget but was super cool was absolutely based. Everything was burning, it just looked really cool and obviously gave me No Way Out vibes, but on a much grander scale. The group finally has that dinner around the table that Rick envisioned in season 7 episode 1, which was an amazing callback that I noticed instantly as soon as they showed the table. I was smiling like crazy. Lydia reuniting with Elijah and finally being 100% ready to move forward is a nice conclusion to her character, and I'm happy for her. They do a year time skip where all the characters reflect on what has happened, which I think is cool. It lets us see all the things they've built in honor of the dead, and we also see Ezekiel and the others at the head of the new Commonwealth. They show us Alexandria and the wall with all the names on it, of the people who died, like Glenn and Nicholas, which I had forgotten about, honestly, but that's really cool too. I'm glad they showed that. Carol cuts her hair again off screen, which I can't decide if I love or not due to what her longer hair symbolizes, but it's still cool to see her more iconic hairstyle. Anyway, Daryl says his goodbyes to everyone, especially Carol, and I was going crazy at every scene. Such a great closing moment. Except, it wasn't the last scene. That's right, it's the moment all of us have waited years for. Michonne and Rick return in the last few minutes. We see them writing letters, and it's shot as if they've actually found each other, but then they show that they haven't actually yet. We finally learn how Rick sent all the stuff away for Michonne to find, and they cut between both characters looking at the bag, and it's so awesome. Not to mention Rick is absolutely dripped out in some CRM clothes with a perfect level of gray beard. Andrew Lincoln looks awesome, and his return in these scenes is just so perfect. It's the icing on top. And Michonne looks cool too, honestly. She looks like a goat with her armor and a horse charging into an enormous herd of walkers. Jesus Christ. And I know we didn't really see a lot from these two, but I mean, should we? This is the end of The Walking Dead. We're seeing the setup for their show, you know? And I feel like what they gave us here is just enough to add a little bit of mystery and give us hope about the future. And then we hear the iconic line that has been referenced a bunch recently, but not said in a long time. We're the ones who live. We hear it from every main living character, even Morgan. That's crazy. We also see a montage of all the dead characters we love, like Dale, Bob, Sasha, Andrea. That's right, we love Andrea too. She's not that bad, get over it. We're left with Rick about to be taken once more by the CRM, and Judith and RJ sitting on a tower. Then, I got a wonderful little montage of a bunch of actors, present and previous, saying how much they love the show and how thankful they are for everyone. Emily Kinney, David Morrissey, Chandler Riggs, like damn, this is based. And that's it. This show changed my life forever. I wouldn't be where I am making these videos without it. The Walking Dead will forever be in my heart. Did this finale redeem the entire season being mediocre? No. Did everything I predicted happen? Obviously not. I thought either Gabriel or Aaron was dead for sure. Everybody was in agreement on that. Should it have probably been split into 2 seasons with the normal 16 episodes to properly end every character arc and every story beat? Yeah, but the finale did everything it could to make me feel. And right now, having just watched it while writing this, that's all that matters to me. It brought back the magic the show used to have, and that's amazing, man. Like What Comes After was the perfect send-off for Rick, Rest in Peace is the perfect send-off for The Walking Dead, and I will never forget this finale and how it brought back those feelings from long ago. And with it over, that's all I have to say about this franchise. Oh wait, there's spin-offs too. Well, I guess I'll need a second video to talk about those and my thoughts on the future of the franchise after the main series finale. Subscribe to see when that video comes out. But to all my Walking Dead fans who stuck by the series like I did, I hope this finale means as much to you as it did for me. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.